Hi, everyone. On this episode of Crushing It with Your Tribe, I have the honor of speaking with Yolanda Jackson. She is the founder and executive consultant of BeyondMeasure LLC. And Yolanda has conversations and works with companies that marries leadership with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is an important conversation to be had. So stay tuned for this episode of Crushing It with Your Tribe.
As a Texas realtor, Robin McCoy is in the unique position to meet and know so many different people in a wide range of industries. These people are her tribe, and she leverages them not only to help her business, but to help theirs as well. Welcome to Crushing It with Your Tribe, where we share real talk about building business and life relationships. Here is your host, Robin McCoy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Crushing It with Your Tribe. I'm Robin McCoy, a Texas realtor, and I am unique in the opportunities that I get to know amazing, amazing people. And today's guest is actually an ABWA top 10 sister, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Her name is Yolanda Jackson, and I'm so excited to have her here today. Tell you a little bit about Yolanda. She is the founder and executive consultant of BeyondMeasure LLC. She is described as a multidimensional intrapreneurial leader, having served the workforce for 30 years. Yolanda brings an astute understanding to the workforce consulting through her experiences holding staff, mid, and senior level positions within the juvenile justice and nonprofit program development. Yolanda's signature summit and podcast, Can You See Me? Women, Leadership, and Race, highlights leaders of diverse races, creates space for dialogue, and inspires change within the workplace and the community. Yolanda was awarded the American Businesswomen's Association 2023 Top 10 Businesswoman and currently serves as the Vice President of Membership for the Maryland Capital Chapter in Annapolis. And she says true leadership makes room for everyone to utilize their gift and create sustainable impact. Welcome, yes. Yolanda.
Thank you, Robin. Oh, man, I think you need to go everywhere with me and introduce me. I love that. Thank you.
It sounds great, doesn't it? You know, sometimes we don't think about our own selves until somebody even reads something about us.
Yeah.
Right?
And you're like, ooh. I did that.
I did do that. I am that. It's very cool. Yeah. Well, welcome to the show. I'm and I'll be honest, we've seen each other at conferences and things like that, but we've never really had any kind of in-depth conversation. So this will be a good opportunity for the both of us.
Absolutely. Today will be good. I'm really excited. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you here. So tell me a little bit about you. Let's give a little background. I know you've done a lot of different things over 30 years. And this is, I think you said you're celebrating right about now your first year as in business for yourself.
I am. So this is, I believe, this week is the anniversary of me kind of stepping out there and saying, I'm giving myself a year and then I'll assess it. Never, saying that I'm done with the workforce, because as you can see, I absolutely love, the workforce in different areas of it. But consulting for me for this past year has been wonderful. I've learned a lot. I have built some really great connections, but it helps me to think about where I want to be as I move forward in this next phase of my life. And, really thinking about, some folks are, always saying, oh, stay in business. And then, there's folks, the workforce. Robin, I am so at the point in my life that I am, and I want to do more of what feels right to me and for me. And blocking out everything else. Yeah.
A lot of us are getting there. And whether it's post-pandemic or something, I think people's mindsets have changed a little bit about what is truly important. If it's not serving me, I'm going to get it off my plate.
Right. And that's what I wanted to do over this past year. I had a wonderful job, absolutely adore. And, I decided that there was more growth or something else that I am looking to do in this next phase of my life. I'm 52 and, I want to really do things even more, things that create impact and things of that nature across the country within inside of the workforce and external of the workforce as well. And so I made the decision to take a year and not do the traditional thing. If I'm going to go into another job, not go straight from one job to the next, right? Because
Right.
that's what I would have done. But really taking the time to think about where I want to be. And in the meantime, growing myself, consulting. So I'm still connected with organizations and being intentional about my own personal and professional development.
Well, good for you. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
scary leap. That's a scary thing
Ooh.
to do.
Ooh,
I mean,
every day.
every day, right? And it's,
Mhm.
I'm 59. Women of a certain age,
Yep.
it gets a little scarier. It's not like
Yeah.
when you're 20 or 30 and you're like, oh, I can do this,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
we've
Oh,
got
man.
to, that retirement starts creeping up faster and
Mhm.
faster
Yeah,
once you get past 50.
absolutely. And when I first started thinking about it in 2021, I'm like, oh, I have a great career behind me and all this other stuff. But I was like, you know what? I have a great career behind me.
Yeah.
I've developed a lot of skills. Let's not forget about age. Let's not think about age,
Yeah.
because at first I did. I was like, and then you hear all these things. Who wants to be changing jobs or changing careers at 50 plus? But it's just 50. It's
Yes.
just
Yes.
52. And, and then I started telling myself, no, you have skill sets, you have connections and things that, will help you along the path. And so don't be hindered by, age. So,
Well, and I think that's part of it too, is recognizing that we don't do it alone.
yeah. Oh,
Right?
ooh,
We do
ooh.
have people, we have,
Mhm.
and I don't mean just friends and family that say, "You go, girl."
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
it's the people that you've worked with in the past at previous
Absolutely.
positions and in
Mhm.
previous roles
Yeah.
that already know you're up
Mhm.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
They already
Yeah.
know that. They know who you are from a
Mhm.
professional standpoint. They know your work ethic and
Right.
they know your skill level.
Yeah, yeah, and they mention your name in rooms. I'm sure you've
Yeah,
seen that whole meme before. Is get you some friends or have a tribe that mention your names in rooms that you're not
that's right.
there. I'm not big because I'm still figuring this out, and I don't have a team or anything, so I have to market myself. But a lot of what I've done, I will say. 90% of what I've done over the last year, I would say 4 to 5 contracts, have to do with someone mentioning my name in a room, and so that's huge. That's why I love your title, Crushing It with Your Tribe. I love that.
Well, and it is that, right?
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
we go into business, and whether you work for a corporation or yourself,
Hmm.
it's the relationships that you build along the way
Yeah.
that propel that business.
Hmm.
I
Absolutely.
mean, we've got Texas Instruments here in Texas and Dallas. So
Mhm.
TI didn't start and just know everybody.
Right.
It was those relationships that were built
Hmm.
year over year that makes Texas Instruments or State Farm or any of those other huge
Hmm.
companies who they are today. And it's the
Absolutely.
same, it's the same with that individual business.
Yeah, yeah. And you make such a good point because I didn't do this out of like, oh my God, I just woke up one day and and I decided to work for myself. I actually started building this back in 2016 and I'm still building it. And no matter, what I do, whether it's the workforce or consulting, I'll continue to build my business,
Sure.
So yeah, yeah,
Doesn't have to
it's
go away.
good.
Well, tell me a
Mm-mm.
little bit about what Beyond Measure is. So you
Sure.
decided you've been building this, and so you
Yeah.
consult. Who are you consulting with, and what are you teaching
Yeah.
on?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started and decided to start the consulting business back in 2016, I was in a business coaching program, like a group coaching program, and I think it was like a 9-month program. And the lady who runs the coaching program was challenging us to go ahead and get things started and implement and launch and all of that. And so that year in 2016, a lot of stuff was happening with racism, shootings of young Black men, by law enforcement, just a lot of stuff that was fueling a lot of vitriol, right?
Yes.
Amongst how we're communicating with one another and all of that. And, I said to myself, I can either get involved and talk and all of this stuff, with people, or I can try to do some things about it. Right.
Right.
And I decided that, okay, I need to launch my business, but I also want to marry that with having a way for us to dialogue about race relations, about diversity and inclusion. And so 2016, I had my first summit, the Can You See Me Summit. And, and I always talk about this and encourage people to do whatever it is they want to do and don't listen to naysayers because, I thought, I'm like, oh, well, who do I know and who will really come together? And I was like, women.
Yeah. Women will always come together, won't we?
It's going to be women. If change is going to happen, it is going to be women. And do we not see that happening over the past few years? And so I thought that maybe 10, 15 women would come, and there were 62 women at my first summit.
Wow.
So,
that's quite a coup. That's
yeah,
a great
absolutely
thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm still building that out. I've been able to have 3 since 2016, and then COVID happened. So I'm looking to expand that more to somewhere else in the country because we have had other people come throughout those 3 summits. We've held them here. And so it really has, at the beginning, it was really just the summit. Then the podcast that was launched in one of my girlfriend's living room. And, and not really having a true, compass and direction and all of that. Although I knew that I wanted to, like you, highlight women, who are doing their thing, right?
Doing their thing,
And that's what really matters, because one of the things that I see is that people who don't have large platforms get forgotten about, right? And they're doing so many amazing things,
So
like
true.
you said, you got so many cool people. So I wanted to highlight some of those cool people. In addition to that, of course, I've been working a full-time job. And so I was working in nonprofit, in a great nonprofit where I was helping to build a civic and legal education program across the country for vulnerable populations, and those populations that are most vulnerable to racism and injustice, like our young people in child welfare and juvenile justice, girls and young women who are trafficked or survivors of domestic violence. And so that continued on over the past year. Fast forward to over the past year, I have been providing professional development training seminars online. I have been supporting some small associations in different development that they're working on. And I'm currently working with a great organization to build out a diversity, equity, inclusion strategy and a learning agenda, which is really good because people get stuck in that, right?
Yeah.
As if, it's this big, hot thing to do, but you can get stuck. Like, how do I move this work forward? What does this really mean for me?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing right now in a nutshell, Robin.
Well, I think, as you said, over the last 5 to 7 years, things have gotten a little volatile, right? And more than a little, but I mean, and people, I think sometimes people don't know how to act anymore, and I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way, but they become afraid of doing one thing or the other. And so they do nothing at all. Is this the year that you're going to stop paying rent? Is this the year that you are going to finally purchase your own home? But where do you start? How do you get your questions answered? Well, I'm Robin McCoy, and I'm a Texas realtor with Keller Williams. Relax, I got this. I have a home buyers masterclass the first Saturday of every month, and it's free to you, and it's all online. Just text the word masterclass to 214-226-3770, and we'll get you registered and on the path to home ownership. They become afraid of doing one thing or the other, and so they do nothing at all.
Right, right.
right?
Or they say things that can be harmful. And
Yeah,
one of the things that, I'm learning more and more every day is something my mom always told us. If you don't have nothing good to say, don't say nothing.
don't
Just
say
don't
nothing.
say nothing, in that order. In that order. And that's
Right.
something that we all have to work on every day, right?
Well, it is. And, I'm fortunate Keller Williams has a very large, they've developed a diversity training program within our organization
That's awesome.
because we do, when we're out there in the world, we're
Mhm.
dealing with all sorts of different people. We have no idea,
Mhm.
who they are and what they've been through or where they stand and things like that. And you can say things without thinking about it that can come across in a way that you never intended.
Right.
And I
Mm.
think as a society, we have to start thinking before we speak,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I think being able to build programs and especially train companies and organizations how to work with younger people, older people,
Yeah.
people of color, women,
Mhm.
everybody is so important because we get caught up in one thing
Yeah.
and don't look at the other side, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And always, and even though I do the work, I have to challenge myself sometimes and check in with myself, because we have to be willing to have brave conversations,
Yeah.
not just surface stuff, but real brave conversations. And I believe that's the only way that we're going to strengthen
Yeah.
this world for my children and, nieces and nephews in the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a number of years ago I saw some a glimmer of hope for our
Mhm.
youth out of my nieces and nephews and how they responded to just things that were
Yeah.
going on in the world around them. And I looked at
Mhm.
them and they were all either graduated from college or they're in college now, all these things. But this was a few years ago when they were in high school. And I
Mhm.
looked and went, there is hope.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
is
yeah.
hope.
Oh, our young people they are the coolest. I tell you, they are the coolest. We can learn a lot from them, I tell you, just how they think, how they interact with one another. And that doesn't dismiss everything that generations prior have done, but how they interact and how accepting they
Yeah.
are is something that I believe that all of us can learn from.
I think so too. I
Yeah.
think so too. Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you, so if someone wanted to engage your services,
Mhm.
what would we ask you or what would you ask us in what we're
Yeah.
looking for or what, you know,
Yeah.
how would
Yeah.
that conversation happen?
Yeah, so you would reach out to me for a consultation and we would talk. I would want to know where your organization is. Are you looking for, equity training? Are you looking for someone to be a thought partner with you to move the work forward? One of the things that I find is that a lot of organizations have done some deep work. Some of them have
Mhm.
not, right?
Right?
But some of them, let's start with the ones that have done the deep work and maybe they've had a lot of trainings, they bought consultants in, things of that nature, but they're not quite sure of how to move things forward
Mhm.
and how things need to look in practice on a daily basis. And then that trickles down to their staff, their managers not being able to push the work and be champions for
Yeah.
diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So I like to know where you are. That's really important to understand the starting point and not force someone or an organization to be where they're not, because there may be organizations who are looking to simply check the box, right? And we know that that's not good. However,
Yeah.
that may be all they can take at that time. They may
Right.
not be able to go somewhere else. And so having that conversation first is really important to me because I don't want to come in and do damage to people.
Right.
I don't want to push people to somewhere they're not. And I want them to be able to integrate diversity, equity, and inclusion practices within their work and not have it be some outlier, because it's not, and it can't be, in
It's like
order to
meeting
be
them where they
sustainable.
are. Okay, so I'm
Absolutely.
gonna meet you where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna see what
Yep.
maybe your goals are, and if you don't know what they are, then we're just gonna take it this way and take it
Yes.
as
Yeah.
most things when change has to happen, needs to happen, is going to happen
Mm-hmm.
in little,
Yeah. Yeah.
little just where do you
Little
eat an
little
how do you eat an
pieces.
elephant? One bite at a time.
We didn't get here overnight, right? And
No.
so there are some like constructs, some constructs and barriers that have been developed for centuries that we are tearing down. I'm not even going to say
Yes.
we're trying to tear down, but we're tearing down, and we may not see them in, this generation.
Yeah. But
Hmm.
like you said, our young people are the coolest,
Yeah.
and they are making
Hmm.
those moves with that generation, because
Hmm.
everything is generational, right? So
Yeah.
our generation is doing things differently than our parents'
Right.
generation and their
Right.
grandparents. And so much of it is regional, right? Are you in the South? Are you in the Northeast? Are you in the Northwest?
Hmm.
Because those traditions and those way things are done,
Hmm.
they run deep. They run
Oh,
deep.
oh, yeah, yeah. And we have to listen to one another, listen to our young people, and listen to one another, and respect each generation, right? So we hear the discussions where, folks feel like maybe the younger people don't respect what came before them. And then the folks who are, a little older in age, they're feeling like nobody's hearing them and they're being
Yeah.
pushed out. And so finding that balance of we're all important to the conversation,
Yeah.
and that we're all needed within the workplace is really important, and helping to demonstrate that to our young people and letting them know that their voice matters.
Well, and I think, that it kind of segues a little bit into talking about the American Businesswomen's Association,
Yeah,
right? We
yeah.
have got amazing, wonderful women of all
Mhm,
backgrounds, of all, ages, backgrounds,
mhm,
business, entrepreneurs. And I would ask you, how
mhm.
do we, you know, uh, get the younger generation of women to understand that they need organizations such as this, that we can learn from those that went before us.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, in so how do you see growing that kind of population into these things that, we're on our phones. Oh, I don't need to go anywhere, to get out
Mhm.
there and
Yeah.
work with people from all ages and backgrounds.
Yeah. Oh, Robin, you want to get me in trouble, don't you? I tell
No,
you.
no, no,
Well,
no.
I absolutely adore the American Business Women's Association. And, I'm sure you could see from the answers on my job form that when I'm all in, I'm all in. And
Yes.
so I believe that the organization at its core is amazing for what we do and what we receive, from ABWA for personal and professional development. And I love that it's career and business, right?
Mhm.
And that if you're trying to grow in your career, if you're trying to grow in your business, or if you're retired and you're just looking for a place to have camaraderie and support in life, it is the place for you, right? I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. One of the things that's really important, and it's something that I often say, is that ABWA, like any other organization, does not work unless you work it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Take advantage of what's there, find out what's there, ask a lot of questions, all of that. Right. And so that's where the onus is on us as an individual coming into the organization, really see what's out there. Now, the onus from the perspective of like a VP of membership or a top 10, or those of us who have been and doing it for a while, our I believe that our charge is always in trying to determine how do we capture and highlight the value
Mhm.
that young people are going to get,
Yeah.
right? To me, I see it as two things, in my opinion, right? One is capturing the value, and demonstrating that value to young people to attract them. Two is ensuring that we're ready for diverse voices of
And for them to
all
show up.
ages. Yeah. So if they come, what we're going to do with them?
And
If they
I think,
come
and
and
this is whether
they
it's
go,
ABWA or any organization, right? We use
any
ABWA because
organization,
we are
right?
familiar with it and we're very
Mhm.
involved. But
Right.
this is any organization.
Mhm.
There are two sides to it, right? If as a
Mhm.
member, you
Mhm.
get out of it what you put into it.
Right.
And
Mhm.
as an organization, we have to give enough that people want to
Mhm.
partake
And
in it.
prepare ourselves, and it's a struggle. I'm always thinking of things to do, and I know our board is, always thinking of different things to do, and then listening to other chapters. It is a struggle, right? Because we're not just fighting our own internal things and figuring out our chapter stuff. We're also fighting the external forces of, they can log right on if I say to them, but we have all these Apex courses, and then they can log right on and go onto YouTube and get something for 30 minutes,
Yeah.
or something like that. So finding a way, and I tell you, I don't have a secret sauce for that. I really don't. But finding a way to highlight the value to it that speaks to multiple generations, and then also making sure that we're prepared. We're all busy, and it's a volunteer
Yeah.
organization, right? And so we can lose sight of, oh, we need to connect with this one in a different way. Maybe I don't send an email. Maybe this one needs a text message, or this one needs a phone call, and they don't want people bombarding their
Yeah.
email, or they don't want me calling them because that's not what they used to. And that's a delicate dance
It
because it's
is.
hard. There are, what do we have, about 42, 43 members in our chapter right now. And so really determining, how do we touch them? How do we touch them?
That's where
How do
we are as
we,
well.
yeah. And I know it is a real delicate dance, but continuing to highlight the benefits and what it's doing for us, and making sure that if we get them in, to let them know that their voice, their opinions, ideas, all of that stuff matters. And even if we can't implement it right then, like figuring out a way, okay, how do we think about this moving forward, or how do we
Right.
incorporate this moving forward? One thing, of course, sometimes with a younger generation, and with me too. So I always say, I think I have my foot in younger, older.
Sure.
I'm in between. Is that we sometimes want, and I say we, so that I don't, generalize any generation, is that we want immediate,
Yes.
something immediate, right? I said it. I need you to listen to me, and I want you to do it now, and all of that. But finding the value that, and making sure that we can highlight that value, and being prepared when we send them in, and learning even when we bring them in, and then learning as we go when we do get them in, learning from them, seeing what works for them, see what works for you. Does it
Yeah.
make sense for you to be a part of a national organization? Does it make sense for you to be a part of a chapter? What do you love? Like, what could you contribute that keeps them connected? So,
Yeah.
what are your gifts? What are the fun
What are you
things you like
looking
to do?
for? What do you,
Mhm.
and I think, and again, post pandemic, we kind of got, for a couple of years, we got used to being alone and doing things online. I know I
Mhm.
did.
Oh, yeah.
And I am very much I want to go out and I want to meet people and I want to do
Mhm.
things. And it has
Yeah.
taken me a good year to get
Yeah.
back into the things I did in
Yeah.
2019.
Mhm.
And I think younger people, men, women, whether you're advancing your career within an organization or an industry, or
Mhm.
you want to be an entrepreneur,
Right.
learn, don't reinvent the wheel. And yes, you can go on YouTube and listen to, a talking head
Mhm.
like this tell you things,
Mhm.
but you can also go and meet people that lived it.
Be the leader you know you can be. Build your professional network and access education that takes you where you want to go. We are women of all ages and backgrounds. You deserve national recognition and opportunities to build relationships with people you want to work and grow with. Hit the ground running with the Charisma chapter of the American Business Women's Association. Meetings each month from 6 to 8:30 p.m. on the fourth Tuesday in Farmers Branch, Texas, and online. Come with us. Experience ABWA for yourself. Go to charisma.abwa.org to learn more.
And yes, you can go on YouTube and listen to, a talking head like this tell you things, but you can also go and meet people that lived it.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
can talk to people that lived this and what they learned. And yes, it's different now, but it's really the same.
Yeah, and trying new things, being open to new things and trying new things too. Our meetings are on a Wednesday, second Wednesday of every month in the evening. And I love our meetings. Like, I love to go to meetings, but there are times where I'm like, oh, I got to drive to the meeting, right? But once I get there, I'm good. I'm
Sometimes
good.
getting there's the hardest
It
part.
is the hardest thing. But then there's times like during the winter time, I know a few meetings ago, I was feeling cranky. I was just feeling a little cranky because I was tired. I had a full day of training, all of that. But once I get my mind into, the meeting and all of that, I'm okay. But those are the things that we sometimes have to check in with ourselves about.
Yeah. And again, getting back to what is important. Yes, I'm very tired and it's cold and I want to go home and I had a full day. And yet knowing that, one, people want to see you.
Yeah.
People want to see you and they want to talk to you and they want to hear you laugh and hear you and see you smile. And also, you want the same thing.
Yeah.
That's why we're human beings.
Yeah.
We are, in fact, pack animals, really. You get down.
Yeah.
And ABWA is a heck of a pack to run in. I'm just going to
It
say
is. It is a good pack to run in. I tell you, the past, I think I'm 4 years or going on 4 years. I'm still a baby in the organization, really.
I'm 7.5 and I'm a baby. So,
But I tell you, it's been an amazing ride. Having a space where you're recognized for. Yeah, part of it is what we do with the ABWA, but the larger part of it, especially top 10, is being recognized for who I am and what I've done and contributed and being okay with that, right? Because it is not easy for me to stand. Let me see, in the past, it's not easy for me to stand when I'm getting all the accolades. I like to give them out. But I tell you, this last year, though, Robin, it hasn't been tough for me. I've enjoyed it.
Top 10, I'll tell you, and for those that don't know, I mean, I talk about ABWA because I get a lot of my ABWA girls on here, but top 10 is the highest honor bestowed upon an ABWA member. And there's certain criteria you have to meet, and then your application is actually reviewed by outside people. So these people don't know you. They're not a member of ABWA. They review what you've done business-wise in your community and basically, like you said, who you are.
Yeah.
And every year, 10 women are selected. And one of my chapter members when I started was a top 10, Julia. She was Fiedler then. She's Kramer now, Julia Kramer. And I said, I want to do that. I want to be a top 10.
Yeah.
And like 3 years later, it happened. And it's just it's just an honor.
It is.
It makes you feel good about things. Not that I need to be recognized.
Yeah.
But it's just so nice when you are.
Yeah, and we do. And I have learned to own that we do need recognition. We're built like that. You don't do things for recognition,
right?
But it is okay to have that recognition and to feel good about it and stand in it. I actually did not. I was hesitant because, I was like, oh no, what is this? This is just another layer of responsibility, all of that. But when I started that application, and I really got into it, and my chapter, was behind me and all of that. And I'm, doing that application from things that I did years prior to ABWA and all of that. I was like, okay, All right, girl. Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah, you go
Well,
ahead. Yeah.
because so often we put our head down and we go, and as
Mhm.
women, we do that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we do what we do.
Mhm.
And then when we stop and sit and look up for a minute,
Mhm.
and we go, "Yeah, I did do that. Oh, man,
Yeah.
that I guess that matters.
That
It
that
matters."
absolutely, it absolutely
And
does.
it matters, and I want women to know that they matter and what they
Mhm.
do matters.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
ABWA is a good place to kinda hang out
Absolutely.
and see that.
So go out there on that national website,
That's
y'all, and
right.
check us out, abwa.org. Yes, yes,
Absolutely,
yes. I am
absolutely.
I am always repping ABWA, as the young folks say.
Yeah.
I'm always repping that
So you
organization.
do have a foot in each camp.
I know,
You're
right?
talking like the
Yeah.
young folks.
Yeah.
All
Mhm.
right. Yolanda, if there's one thing that maybe we didn't go over or you want an opportunity to pass on to the folks that are listening, what would that be?
Yeah, so I'll do one practical thing. I am going to be releasing, and maybe I'll send that. I'm sure, yes, I'll send that to you
Yes.
so that you can have it to put this out. But I am going to be teaching an evening course that I've developed myself, and so that I can really connect to those folks who really want to move diversity, equity, and inclusion work forward, but they don't
Okay.
want the title of the DEI chief. They don't want the title of the person or the responsibility, but they want to support it and move it forward. So I will be releasing that. I'll give you that to you. That's going to start at the end of February. It's going to be a 4-session online program where we get together, and it's going to be very interactive in the evening. So
Okay.
that's going to be really good. And then also you can follow me on social media. Yolanda Johnson, you'll see in parentheses Jackson, my maiden name. And so what I would like for folks to do is to go on my website, BYM Consults, BYMConsults.com. Feel free to set up a consultation with me. That would be great. But, Robin, just as a human being, one of the things that I thought about, that I think that I don't realize that sometimes I do struggle with this, and I have struggled with this, and it has come back, at different times, is being okay with what is and not wanting it to be something that it's not. And I
Interesting.
tell you,
Yeah.
yeah, I want folks out there to really get that, because what happens is that sometimes when we are in this whole, like, I love the whole my tag for Beyond Measure was discover, lead, and expand, and I still use that in my training workshops. And one of the things with discovering is that we're also sometimes rediscovering things about ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's life changes, a career change, a divorce, whatever it is, sometimes we will rediscover things about ourselves. Hopefully, most of the times it's good stuff, right?
Yeah.
That, oh my God, I forgot how much I love this, or I forgot that I used to love this. Like, I've been spending a lot of time at the library. I forgot how much I loved
Love the
the
library.
library. Yes. So, but also, life circumstances, like when we hit roadblocks or do something wrong or screw something up, we'll also then rediscover something about ourselves that we have to stop and make sure we're checking in and saying,
Changing.
am I make that Robin, this, right? Because sometimes what happens is we're on autopilot and we don't realize that we're trying to make things what we want them to be versus seeing them for what they really are.
I went
So,
through that very thing this morning.
ooh,
I
Robin.
went through that very and I won't take too long to go into the details, but,
Mhm.
there's something going on over here,
Mhm.
and I felt a certain way about it,
Yeah.
and I sent a text to my business coach, and I said, "Gonna have to stay off Facebook for a minute," and just about it, and he said, he just was able to redirect my mindset because I knew what I just needed to unload it somewhere, and that's what
Yeah.
business coaches are for,
Oh,
is to unload that
woo!
stuff. But that was
I
just
tell you.
this morning on the
Mhm.
way, and
Yeah.
it's changing the way I look at things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a we call it a bold law at Keller Williams, but it's when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's
The
the
things
same
you
thing
look
as
at change.
accepting it as it is and
Mhm.
seeing it for what it is changes
Seeing
the
it
way
for
you
what
look
it
at things.
is. Yeah. 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 And then the other thing I said earlier is just to, you know, be okay with do the things that you feel good about and the things that you feel that's good for you. You
Yes.
know, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Well, and that is it too. And I think,
Mhm.
because the more you find the things that you enjoy doing that feel good,
Yeah.
and then you're happier. You're
Yeah.
just, I mean, it makes you happier. You don't mind getting up in the morning. You don't mind going to work in the morning. You don't
Mhm.
mind all of
Mhm.
those. And
Yeah.
therefore you are a better human being out there
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
how you show up here is how you show up out there. And
Yeah.
so, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
I tell
it.
you. Yeah,
That's
this has been
it.
so good. So
Ah, love it.
good.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody,
Mhm.
this has been such a great episode for me. I love chatting with you. That was
Mhm.
amazing. And of course, we're going to
Mhm.
have all of Yolanda's information, links. She's going to send me about that class that's going on at the end of
Yes.
February.
Yes.
And we will get that out in the show
Mhm.
notes and make sure that everybody is aware.
Yep.
And thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
so appreciate
Thank
you.
you. This has been so good, Robin, and I hope to see you. I may be going to Tennessee, so we'll see.
Maybe.
Maybe
I'm
we'll see
I'm a
each other in
maybe as well, so we'll
Chattanooga. Yep.
see. We'll see.
All righty.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Crushing It with Your Tribe. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for Crushing It with Your Tribe with Texas Realtor Robin McCoy. Check out all the show notes for contact information on Robin and her guests and to access your free resources and information discussed on this episode. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a conversation. Thanks again, and we will see you next time on Crushing It with Your Tribe with Robin McCoy.